Hi, I'm Anne-Marie. I have 3 beautiful boys, including my 5-month-old twins Solomon and Gabriel. We've made this DVD to counter some of the common myths about breastfeeding. Lots of people will tell you that they know better than you do about how to feed your baby, that your baby's feeding too often so they mustn't be getting enough milk, that they're not fat enough and you should switch to formula. Breasts are made to feed babies, and breastfeeding provides all the nutrients that your baby needs. Don't doubt your body's ability to do what it was made to do. It may take a little bit of time to get into the swing of things, but that's normal. Once you get over the initial hurdles, breastfeeding is a really enjoyable experience. I love the fact that breastfeeding has allowed me to just sit down and take time to reconnect and focus on my baby. I'm really proud of the fact that I was able to feed my first son Abraham for 3.5 years, and I'd like to continue feeding my twins for just as long. Here are some stories of other young parents who have also had a really positive experience with breastfeeding.
I have a 16-month-old son, Cruz, that was born on the 16th of the 12th, 2010. I'm a stay-at-home mum. I breastfeed him. I knew it was just good for your baby, a lot better than formula. It benefited me as well as my child. Obviously it's a more bonding session with mother to child when you breastfeed as well.
It's always led to believe by my support system that breastfeeding was the best way to go. So I'm a firm believer in it. I breastfed all of my 10 children. The longest I breastfed one of my sons was 4 years.
I'm 20 now. Bailey's 20 months. I go to school. Nearly finished my year 12. Mum breastfed all 4 of us. I always knew that was what was the natural thing to do, so when I was going to have kids I was always going to be the one that breastfed.
Before I met Tamar and Bailey, I really didn't know much about breastfeeding. I suppose I had the social norm that, you know, it's only for little babies and all that sort of thing, and I also knew that it was pretty common that people don't breastfeed anymore.
Before I had Sophie, before I was pregnant, to me breastfeeding was just a no-go. I was like, I don't want that. And to see other women in public was just, it was very overwhelming just to see someone pop out their boob and latch on their baby, and it was just sort of one of those things where you were just like, where do I look?
So many young people these days are unfamiliar with breastfeeding. Many weren't breastfed themselves. They see lots of images in the media showing babies being bottle fed, and they see their peers bottle feeding, so they think it's the norm. But breastfeeding is the normal way to feed a baby. It's why women have breasts, and it has so many benefits for mum and for baby.
I think that a lot of girls choose to bottle feed. I think they find it that bottling and doing the formula is easier, but personally it's not. Honestly it's not, I don't reckon.
My name's Angus, I'm 19 years old. Oliver was born when I was 18, he's 15 months now. What I knew about breastfeeding was that it was good. I just heard that it was a lot more convenient, a lot cheaper, and also a lot better for your child than formula.
It's best for your baby. It's really good, for their tummies. It's, easily digested. I think one of the main things was the fact that if you're sick, you are actually protecting your baby from being sick, because the antibodies that you're making pass straight through, so you're actually giving them a really good start at life.
Oh, there's no sterilising, there's no washing, there's no, shit, I forgot my formula. It's all there. It's ready to go. It's sitting there. It doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing. If you're just like, oh, I've got to duck to the shops and Bub decides they want to feed, and you think, oh crap, I haven't got the bottles. It's just there. Words don't even describe how much easier it is than bottles.
Breastfeeding is best because it's cheaper. If you don't have money, you don't have to run around borrow money for a tin of formula. It's cleaner. You don't have to sterilise. You don't have to pay for expensive equipment to sterilise bottles. It's better for you because it helps your uterus contract back into shape so much more quicker.
Breastfeeding happens easily for some women and not to others. Don't expect it to happen straight away. It may take time, so don't give up.
Before I had Tristan, breastfeeding, it sounded like it was awesome and easy, and I tried for the first 2 days, but with stress of not having family around to help and my support system there, like, it just didn't happen. I was devastated and sad. Breastfeeding builds bond between mother and child, and by me not being able to breastfeed, I thought that I wasn't going to have that bond with my child, so I cried.
Yeah, breastfeeding was definitely more challenging than I expected. I did assume you just pop them on and that was it. But my actual experience of it was that it was painful. Getting her to attach was really difficult. You have to persevere because it gets better, and you have to know that it will get better.
I thought breastfeeding was going to be delightful and lovely and just the best thing possible, but it really wasn't. Just stressful to start with. Once I got a bit more support from the early days clinic and from the nurses at the hospital, it got a bit better.
And I was under a lot of pressure from a lot of people to stop breastfeeding and to just, bottle feed her, and it could have been really easy for me to give up, but I pushed through. In the end, we went on to breastfeed for 15 months, and it was something that I was so proud of, and I feel that that's a real accomplishment for me as a mum, to give my daughter that best start in life.
Breastfeeding can be painful in the early days when you're trying to get the attachment right, but once you get the hang of it, breastfeeding should not be painful. In fact, most women get great enjoyment out of breastfeeding. Here is an animation demonstrating correct positioning and attachment. Bring your baby's nose directly opposite the nipple. Let his head tip back a little so the top lip can brush against your nipple. This should make him open his mouth. When his mouth is wide open, bring him quickly to the breast with his head back and chin leading. The baby can then take a large mouthful of breast and not just the nipple. The breast will be drawn deep into his mouth so your nipple will go all the way back to the soft part of his mouth and you won't get sore. So it may not be as easy as you expect, but you can get through it. Be prepared, get support and ask for help.
Before you actually have your child, go and do some research about breastfeeding, the ways to hold a baby, go and do parenting classes and learn about the breastfeeding. Know that your milk doesn't come in straight away for the 3 days where your colostrum's coming in.
The family support towards me breastfeeding has been pretty good, been pretty helpful, especially from my mum as well, because she loves, just to see the bond as well. There's nothing more special. It's pretty great.
I had my mum, my nan, the father of my kids. He's very, breastfeed. So, but yeah, everybody around me was very supportive, so that was good.
With breastfeeding, you can never ask for enough help. Like, whether it's you just duck down to your hospital or to your doctor or to the community health nurse or to even a friend and just say, look, she's doing this or he's doing that. What can you suggest?
I think that if you set your mind to it, you can do it. And there are a lot of people out there who can help. Australian Breastfeeding Association is amazing. They're not, breast is best. They're not fanatics. They're, just normal mums. And a lot of them have had these problems as well and have persevered.
Some women may be embarrassed to breastfeed their baby in public, but you should never feel ashamed or be made to feel ashamed to be feeding your baby.
When I was pregnant, I'd say like, I don't want to breastfeed, how embarrassing. But yeah, once I had my baby, I didn't care where I was. If my baby was hungry, I'd breastfeed.
I know a lot of young mums that are more worried about going out in public and getting dirty looks or someone saying something about them breastfeeding. Like, sure, we can all sit down and eat at a table in public. Why can't a baby sit down and eat too? Like, it's only natural. Well, I never had any problems with breastfeeding in public. You know, my sister-in-law was always really open about it, and I sort of admired her for doing that and just copied the way she did it. Just, you know, let my boob out anywhere and any time. I thought it's natural, you know. If people have a problem with it, it's not my problem.
When you have a child in your breastfeed, you got to think to yourself, you don't need to worry about anyone else or what they think. You got to think about your baby. If they're hungry, you need to sit down and feed them, no matter what anyone else says.
With breastfeeding in public, I just chose not to be uncomfortable as a way of making a stand. Do you know what I mean? It's like, my child's hungry, I'm going to feed it, and I don't care what you think. And also, I think that it's educating people around you that that's normal.
I've got no real problem with a public breastfeeding at all. I think a lot of people who do have a problem with it, I think they're viewing it the wrong way. It's a very functional sort of activity. It's not offensive, it's not erotic, it's just purely functional.
You don't have to give up your life to breastfeed your baby. Expressing is a great way to be able to keep breastfeeding and still be able to go out with your friends. As long as you express before you have a drink, you can store that milk for when you need to go out and until any alcohol is out of your system.
Most of the young mums I know bottle feed, go straight to bottle feeding. Maybe it's just because they want to be able to party and don't want to be tied down as much.
You're in that bad a state that you're like, no, I need some time off. You can always express breast milk into a bottle, give it to mum or give it to dad and say, hey, can you look after Bub? I need some time on my own.
Yeah, when I did eventually go out, it was, you know, I could, you know, express and I did express. You know, I also, you know, hired the electric breast pumps as well to be able to store the milk. And, you know, many a time we'd given Sari the, you know, express breast milk in a bottle and she took that perfectly fine.
There is no hard and fast rule for how long it's okay to breastfeed for. You should breastfeed for as long as you and your child feel comfortable doing it. Internationally, the average age a child breastfeeds for is more than 3 years.
Whatever age the mother feels comfortable doing it, but try and do it for at least a year or over, because then they get their full, you know, term out of doing it.
I hope to breastfeed Bailey till she's at least 2 and then till 3 or possibly even longer, just as long as it's working for us.
When I first met Tamar, I think Bailey was about 18 months old and she was still breastfeeding. I thought, you know, well, she's still breastfeeding sort of thing, but after speaking to her and actually doing my own reading and looking at the actual benefits, I saw that, you know, it was a pretty natural sort of healthy thing for a child and, you know, it sort of did change my perspective.
Even if you don't smoke near your children, when you breastfeed, your baby is still affected by the cigarette smoke that is on you and on your clothes. So do whatever you can to make sure that your baby stays away from cigarette smoke.
I know smoking has been linked to SIDS, and so I mean that's good enough reason to quit smoking, I think, around your child. Mia's father did smoke actually, and I was pretty onto him about changing his clothes and washing his hands after a cigarette.
Before Oliver was born, we were both very strongly against smoking around him, and we decided that it would be a smoke-free household, smoke-free child, all that business. So we both quit smoking as soon as she was pregnant.
I don't smoke personally, but everybody in my family does, and my kids' fathers does. But yeah, you don't smoke around kids, you know, everyone knows that.
It's not a good idea to rely on breastfeeding as a contraceptive. It can work as a contraceptive in the early days of breastfeeding if you are breastfeeding exclusively and regularly, but like any contraceptive, it is not 100% foolproof.
I feel pregnant with my second son when I was breastfeeding. I don't believe breastfeeding is a contraceptive at all, no way.
I understand that for about 6 months of breastfeeding, it's meant to be contraception. But I've had friends who have proved that to not always be the case, so I don't think it should be relied upon.
I don't believe that breastfeeding is contraception. It's more of a urban legend. Honestly, I reckon it is.
From providing your baby with the right nutrients to creating a special bond, there are just so many benefits to breastfeeding.
I know it can be an uncomfortable thing sometimes. Give it a go. I was uncomfortable the first couple of days, but seriously, budget-wise, benefit yourself and for your child. I mean, it's only natural to breastfeed. That's why women have boobs in the first place.
If you can do it, go for it. Really try it. But if you can't, well, give it a go as much as you can. And
a bottle feeding is, if I could, I wouldn't have done it. The sterilising things and the spending money on tins of formula and then not using it, and no, I'd prefer to breastfeed.
I love breastfeeding. It's the best bond I've had between my kids, and now I'm not breastfeeding my first son. It is different.
Of course it was hard, and it's hard when they refuse the feeds, and it's hard when you struggle at the start, but you know, there's nothing that beats knowing that you are, you know, that person keeping your child alive, you know, and you're giving them that best start, you know, at life, and I loved it, and I really even miss it now.
I would say to young people out there that are pregnant that they should give it a go and they should do some research, because that helped me. Not to expect it to happen straight away, but also not to get yourself too worked up about the possible problems, because almost everything can get worked through. Just a bit of time and patience and the right sort of help, you can easily get through any hurdle.
I hope you've enjoyed this DVD and that it's helped make your decision to breastfeed easier. Breastfeeding is a learned skill and will probably take some practice to get it right, but it could be one of your most rewarding motherhood experiences. If you have any problems, there are heaps of resources where you can get help and advice.